Okay, so in next three session, the video coaching session, I'm gonna actually teach you everything you needed to know about what doesn't work in relationship. So when you're out dating, you can really pay attention to those signals and then make sure it will not cause a problem later on for your relationship. And first, today we want to talk about is the compatibility. You probably noticed that I emphasize on compatibility a lot. I always say, well, physical attraction, the good chemistry is always the good starting point, but this is not enough. A love, happy, long-lasting relationship really need a compatibility. Compatible on many levels in your life. So yesterday when I had a private session, and then this client just asked me, what exactly compatibility mean? Well, then I say, why don't we look it together on the dictionary to find out what is exactly the definition about compatibility. So here's what we find out. It's the state of being compatible, capable of existing or living together in harmony. And everybody knows harmony, right? Harmony means there's no conflict, there's no problem. In relationship, there are some obstacles to the relationship compatibility. Every obstacles, of course, you can overcome it if you and your partners are agree this is the problem and you are willing to work on this together. Because sometimes the situation is beyond what you can do only. Has to be two people. That's why don't worry if you spot one or more obstacles. It doesn't mean your relationship is doomed. It just, all I want to say is do not ignore them and pay attention and work through the obstacles. Overcome the obstacles. Okay, so now let's explore. So the first one is significant age difference. I put significant because it's not like you are 5 years younger or 5 years older. That's not significant. It's more than 15 years, more or 15 years younger than your partner, between your partner. And the problem with this is all partner, in the beginning, all the relationships are good because the reason you guys are get together because of the attraction, right? So everything's great, sex is great, the passion, the fun, the excitement. But over the time, when the relationship get more stable, back to day-to-day routine life, and your old partner can become impatient with a young partner's immaturity or lack of life experience or lack of direction of in life. So Julianne is one of my clients. She's 13 years older than her boyfriend. So she wants commitment. And her boyfriend is way too young to think he should make a commitment. That's why she get very impatient about her boyfriend. She's at edge, of quitting that relationship. And another problem is the old partner has a tendency to treat the young partner like a child, because if he's much older, he 15, 20 years older, experienced more in life, has more wisdom. So he will teach you like you are his kid, tell you what to do, what not to do. And over the time, you probably won't like it, right? And the old partner may have a more financial successful. So then if it's his money, he's the sole provider, he feels he has the power in relationship. And he wants to buy whatever he wants to buy. He wants to take a vacation, wherever he wants to go. And it's harder for you to have a saying Because if you don't have the money, he's the sole provider, and then you will feel you don't have the power to balance out in relationship because of his age and experience and money. So really pay attention on this part. And both of you could also compromise or sacrifice your own interest, friends, or activity. Just trying to be compatible. But usually it's always good for a while, and then later on will become the problem. Compatibility, it really means you can sustain long enough, feel in harmony living together, not for short time, it's for long term. So any problem happens, it will cause the problem. That's why two of you, if you really get into a relationship with someone with a big age difference, you have to be aware of the certain things will cause the conflict and how you two will solve the conflict. It doesn't mean it's doomed, but it does need work. So the second one will be the different religious background. This one usually will not show up in the beginning, the early stage of relationship. And most of people tend to not to talk about it. Because you don't need a same religious background to look, movie together or to enjoy a nice evening dinner. But once the relationship gets matured and you guys are becoming more serious, especially if you two bring a family to meet together, and then it will come up the issues about, different religion has a tradition, holidays, and how you raise the kids under which religion. So those things will become potential obstacles. So you need to do is really be honest in the beginning of the relationship, your feelings about different religions. Okay? And are you okay if you both have a different religions? And then for each, do not be afraid of talking about the future. Don't avoid talking, because people don't want to talk those too early, like a rock the boat, thinking you are pressure him for commitment, and just for a fun conversation. In a way, say, hey, I know we have a different religious background, so just let's play out loud. Like, let's say if you're married and have a kids, if your partner has a different religious background from you, what religious you want your kids to be with? And how about different traditions and holidays, how you want to deal with that? These obstacles, it's not become a big problem if both of you are very flexible. So you know what, it's not a big deal. You want to go to your family for your Chinese New Year? Yeah, let's do it. We can do Catholic or whatever next year. But if you both are insisted, this is the time we have to do it under my culture, and then I will have a problem. Okay? And then the next one will be the different social, ethic, educational background. I don't know if you see the movie Pretty Woman. It's a very famous movie. And so Richard Gere played a character as a millionaire, and Julia Roberts played a character as a hooker, and they fell in love to each other, and even they noticed the difference, but in the end they feel like they cannot live without each other, so they still got back together. And when I was young, I watched that movie. I got so fantasized about love story. It's like, it is a true love story. Love can conquer all. But now I'm thinking back, I'm like, well, it's great they finally got together, but can they really get along in the day-to-day life? I don't know. Movie didn't tell us. I just really made me wondering, because the different social educational background, it does make a difference. And people may not have enough in common if you're from a different educational background and a different social background. So I used to have an old neighbor. She's an artist. She loves to go to museum galleries. She fell in love with, one time, she fell in love with her gardener. And it's a nice guy. So all the friends say, well, it's not going to last long. But she didn't believe it. She said, well, he's really nice. We had a passionate sex and we get along so well. No, what other people say will matter. So one day there's a museum having a gala. So she wants to take her boyfriend to meet her friends. And because it's a gala, everybody has to dress up. And her boyfriend refused to dress up in tuxedo. He's like, I'm not comfortable in those clothes. I'm a gardener, you know. And finally, he dragged him to go. But in the event, he got so bored because he has no common topic to talk with her friends. And I came home very frustrated. So sometime later, and he invited her to his friend's gathering, which is sports event. And she found out herself has nothing to talk with his friends. And that's the moment she realized, no matter how much they love each other, how nice he is, it's not going to work. It's just not enough in common. And we all have beliefs, values. Those beliefs, values are actually formed by the way how we grow up. So, like beliefs, how we treat people, how we treat ourselves, how to spend money, raise kids, different political views, health habits. And so you really have to see if you both have the same value. And sometimes the values is not like a spot right away in the beginning of the relationship. You have to really live with someone for a while. Then you can see, if you guys are on the same page. But it's always good to pay attention, to ask questions. And then to see if you do have a different values, can you two compromise, find a common ground. But just be careful to differentiate between compromise and sacrifice. So let's say you're eating very healthy, but your partner somehow like junk food. And it will be sacrifice if you decided to, give up your healthy food and eat with them together on the junk food. That's called a sacrifice. You sacrificed your value. So that's why it's important, remember in the beginning of our coaching, I asked you to develop the blueprint, your ideal soulmate, and those values, your values, and then what values you want him to have. It's also important. If it's on the paper, just pay attention. If his action, his beliefs, it's falling into what you're looking for. And also by asking him lots of questions, right? Like we said. The next one will be the toxic in-laws. That's a big obstacle. This is something out of your control because some parents, they just love their kids dearly. They don't want them kids away from their life. They will constantly interfere with their kids' life, even if the kids got married. So the toxic in-laws will become time, energy, vampire. They interfere in your life. They're always calling your partner, ask how he's doing, and criticize, you didn't take care of him well. Or they didn't even acknowledge you in your relationship. And some in-laws, they finally send a Christmas card only to the husband and not even have a wife's name on there. And I've seen that. And sometimes they will say something to drive you and your partner apart. Those are become very toxic. So when situation happens like this, you have to insist your partner to confront his parents' set boundaries because this is nothing you can do about it in this case. It has to be him. The only thing you can do is actually in the beginning of the dating, in the beginning of the relationship, before you become so emotionally involved with your partner, and I go visit his parents, and I just observe how close he is with his parents. Did he mention a lot of my mom, my dad, and then if his mom called, no matter what, he's gonna drop off everything and to see his mom. I dated a guy, you couldn't believe it, and we were in the middle of the dinner, and his mom called, and I think his mom is headache or something, couldn't find his medicine. Of course, his mom's a little older, and he just dropped off the dinner, and I just gone to see his mom. So first time I thought, you know what, his mom is 82, so I think it's understandable. But then later on, I found out every excuse is because his mom. Then it become what? It's mom issue. It's a mom and a little boy issue. It's mama's boy. Because they cannot stand up for themselves. They still need a mom's approval, parents' approval. And if they cannot set a clear boundary with their parents about you and his relationship with you, and then you better get out fast. Because you're going to be exhausted emotionally. Okay? And the next obstacle is it's not very pleasant. It's the toxic ex-spouse. The reason they are toxic because they don't respect your privacy. They will call your partner anytime they want to talk about things, especially if they have little kids together. And then she could be constantly bothering the husband, the ex-husband. And they will use the guilty to try to drive that wedge between you and your partner. And once they find out, if you guys are in a serious relationship, they will financially blackmail your partner, say, well, I'm going to ask for money, or I'm going to ask for full custody. And they use the kids against you. Jim had a very toxic ex-wife. And in nowadays, we're still dealing with her because kids are still small. She just used for every reason to against him to attack our relationship. But the key here is your partner has to set a clear boundary with his ex-spouse. It's again, nothing you can deal with his ex-spouse, but you can really insist, tell your partner he has to set up a boundary with his ex-wife. Otherwise, you got to step out of the relationship. Some ex-spouse even use sex in a way to interfere. But that's what they do. So, like I said, the important part is your partner, how his attitude, his action, how he set up a boundary with his ex-wife. And in the beginning of the dating relationship, ask questions. And sometimes guys, they don't want to tell you about it in the beginning. They don't want to make you upset, hurt your feeling. But sooner or later, you will find out, because once you guys become more serious, and he's going to bring kids to see you, and then, of course, the mother will know, and then everything's going to explode. That's why I ask lots of questions about how's your relationship with your ex-wife? How's your relationship with your kids? What do you think, they value your new relationship? Ask those questions in the beginning of the relationship. If his answer is vague, it's not a good sign. I actually answered one of my clients' question like that. And a friend of her want to ask her out, but he actually has toxic ex-wife, and actually next is toxic stepchildren, his kids. And I know kids are all wonderful, but the toxic kids in here is because under divorce situation, kids has their own emotional issues. They are in pain. and they don't want to someone else to take away their parents. So let's say if your partner and decided to go into the relationship with you, bring you to see his kids, and the kids probably didn't want you to take away that from them. Or they could be secretly hoping their parents can work things out. So that's why the children give you all the hard time. And if you find you and your partner arguing about the kids and he's always on his kid's side, not on your side, and if you feel the kids starting ruining your relationship, then I think you are having toxic stepchildren problem. Especially when your partner doesn't know how to discipline and set a boundary with his kids because he feels bad about the divorce, the pain bring to his kids, and he doesn't see his kids a lot. So by the time they were together, he just let them do whatever they want to do. And then he becomes very defensive if you talk about the kids, you talk about how you feel. If this is happening, and then definitely you're dealing with the toxic stepchildren issue. So for this obstacle, if you want to overcome, actually takes two of you, not only him. So first, he has to set up the boundary with kids, let them know, no matter what, he still loves the kids, but the relationship will be equal. The kids have to understand that. The second is you are willing to work with the kids and as much as work with the relationship. So you will step in, say, you will let your partner know how you want to be treated by his kids and how you will treat his kids. Set all clear boundaries, lay out. And sometimes things were getting better, maybe kids, much older. Like if they off the college, started their own life, got their jobs, and they will less interfere about your life. But if you are not dealing with the small kids, and you have a long way to go, then you better to solve the problem now instead of, accumulate the problem and then later on become resentment. And that will be too late to solve the problem. Okay? The last one will be the long distance. This obstacle actually, because the internet online dating make long distance seems more, affordable, like easy. People say, well, I don't mind. We can have a Skype. We can talk, text. We talk every day. If things going well, we can, one of us to move. But just pay attention. When you're starting long distance dating, you really don't see the person who he really is. Because even you talk on the phone, on the Skype, but you don't deal with the daily life together. So if you talk for an hour, he said, I'm tired, I go to sleep, then that's it. And you don't see him doing other things. So, but when you guys meet together, because it's, let's say, 3 days weekend, and you always put your best self forward, right? Because we're going to be only 3 days, we haven't seen each other for 2 months. Then you try to avoid dealing the problem if problem arise. We only have 3 days together. I'm not going to talk about problems. And then because we only have 3 days together, I'm not going to talk about my emotional upsets. And because of the 3 days, so you plan 3 days like mini vacation. And you're going to the best restaurant, have lots of activity, and you guys both had fun. And then you think you guys are compatible. On vacation, people always feel compatible because it's enjoy. But you never have a day-to-day routine life together yet. That's why you don't know what it looks like. So of course, it's many vacation, sex is wonderful. But however, I have to let you know, so many people, when they moved in together in the same town, not even say they moved in the same house, just say, okay, finally I'm going to move into your town. And they started arguing. they're less passionate about sex, and a lot of personal issues showing up. And some guys use long distance as an excuse not to make a commitment. So really be careful on that. I have a lady who is in LA, client, and she was dating with this guy actually in San Francisco. They've been dating over phone about 3 months. And the guy never ever flew there to visit her. She said, when we can meet, it's soon. He will send her flowers, send her gifts. And then they never met. And finally, when she came to me, I said, no, this is not a healthy relationship. If he doesn't want to meet you, you have to just let it go right there. Long distance could be work. I mean, I heard some couples, they worked well and they've been married, but they just said that they have to overcome lots of obstacles in the beginning. So when they get together, they don't make every moment special. They just make a normal day. And then they are good to talk about their problems and their feelings. And they solve any issues right there instead of hiding. They say, oh, because we don't see each other that much. It just takes extra work to make long distance being effective. And of course, eventually they get together. So I will really warn you to start out the long distance relationship. This is the 7 obstacles. Like I said in the beginning, if you spot 1 or 2, it doesn't mean your relationship is doomed. It is really, you have to be aware of and what is the issue. Instead of hoping go away, it will not go away. And all the obstacles, actually, you will find that it's become more and more difficult to deal with later on when your relationship gets deeper and longer. So it's better to spot the problem in the beginning, to solve it, either to solve it, to leave it, or to take it. Right? Otherwise, your relationship will have lots of challenges. Okay, so the next video we're going to talk about actually is fatal flaws. The fatal flaws you got to watch out in your partner. Okay, see you next time. Bye.